Let me tell you a story about a young boy who had two fathers. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds unusual. But this boy really did have two fathers, and the lessons he learned from them changed everything about how we think about money, work, and building wealth. This is the story Robert Kiyosaki tells in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's a story that has transformed millions of lives around the world. So, settle in, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see your financial future forever. Two fathers, two philosophies. Picture Hawaii in the 1950s. A young Robert Kiyosaki is growing up with two influential men in his life. One is his real father, highly educated, holding a PhD, working his way up to become the head of education for the entire state of Hawaii. This is his poor dad. The other is his best friend Mike's father, a man who never finished 8th grade, but would go on to become one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. This is his rich dad. Now here's where it gets interesting. Both men were strong, charismatic, and hardworking. Both believed deeply in education, but they had completely opposite views about money. The poor dad would say things like, "The love of money is the root of all evil," and "I'll never be rich." He believed in getting good grades, finding a secure job with good benefits, and working your way up the corporate ladder. He'd tell young Robert, "Study hard so you can find a good company to work for." The rich dad, on the other hand, would say, "The lack of money is the root of all evil." He believed in financial education and making money work for you. He'd tell Robert and Mike, "Study hard so you can find a good company to buy." Can you see the difference? One father was teaching Robert to be an employee. The other was teaching him to be an owner. Robert loved both men, but he found himself at a crossroads. Who should he listen to? Which path should he follow? This tension, this choice, became the foundation for everything that followed. The rich don't work for money. When Robert was just 9 years old, he and his friend Mike decided they wanted to be rich. They were tired of being the poor kids at school, watching their wealthy classmates go off to beach houses for the weekend while they weren't invited. So they went to Mike's dad and asked him to teach them how to make money. And Rich Dad agreed, but not in the way they expected. He offered to pay them 10 cents an hour to work at one of his convenience stores, dusting shelves and organizing inventory. 10 cents an hour! Even in 1956, this was practically nothing. But the boys agreed, eager to learn. For 3 weeks, they worked every Saturday morning for 3 hours, earning just 30 cents each week. Young Robert was growing frustrated. This wasn't teaching him anything about getting rich. It was just hard work for almost no pay. Finally, Robert had had enough. He marched into Rich Dad's office, ready to quit. "You're not keeping your end of the bargain," he said. "You said you'd teach me, but you haven't taught me anything. You're just exploiting me." Rich Dad smiled. This was exactly what he'd been waiting for. "I've been teaching you all along," he said. "What have you learned?" And then came the lesson that would change everything. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Rich Dad explained that most people fall into a trap. They wake up each morning afraid of not having enough money to pay their bills, so they go to work. They get their paycheck and for a moment they feel relieved. But then desire kicks in. They see all the things money can buy, a bigger house, a nicer car, a vacation. So they work harder, get a raise, and immediately their expenses go up to match. Then the fear returns and the cycle starts all over again. "This is called the rat race," Rich Dad said. "And the only way to get out is to stop working for money and learn to have money work for you." But how do you make money work for you? That's where the next lesson comes in. Understanding assets and liabilities. Rich Dad kept his teaching simple, especially for two young boys. He drew pictures and used easy language. And the most important thing he taught them was this: rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities, but they think they are assets. Now, you might be thinking, of course I know what an asset is. But hold on, Rich Dad's definition was beautifully simple. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. It doesn't matter what accountants say or what the dictionary says. If it puts money in your pocket, it's an asset. If it takes money out, it's a liability. Let me give you an example that shocked Robert when he first heard it. Your house is not an asset. I know. Everyone says your home is your biggest asset. But is it? Does your house put money in your pocket each month? No, it takes money out. You've got mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and utilities. Every month, money flows out of your pocket to support your house. Now, a rental property that you own, that's different. If you rent it out and the rent you collect is more than your mortgage and expenses, then money flows into your pocket each month. That's an asset. Rich Dad drew simple diagrams to show the difference. For poor and middle-class people, money comes in from their job as income and then immediately flows out as expenses. Rent, food, car payments, credit card bills. There's nothing left over. For middle-class people, they have the same pattern, but they also have liabilities they think are assets. A big house with a big mortgage, fancy cars with loans, credit card debt. Money flows in and money flows right back out, often even faster than it came in. But for the rich, money flows into their asset column. Stocks, bonds, rental properties, businesses they own. And those assets generate more income, which they use to buy more assets. The cycle builds on itself. The story of young entrepreneurs. Let me tell you about what happened after Rich Dad stopped paying the boys. That's right. After that first lesson, he told them they'd continue working at the store, but now for free. Robert was outraged. "That's not fair," he said. But Rich Dad insisted, "If you want to learn to not work for money, I'm not going to pay you anything." So the boys kept working their Saturday shifts, dusting shelves for free. But something was different now. They started thinking. They started looking for opportunities. One day, while working, Robert noticed something. The store sold comic books, and Mrs. Martin, the store manager, would cut the covers off old comic books and throw the rest away. The comic book distributor would give her credit for the returned covers. Robert's eyes lit up. "Can we have the comic books you're throwing away?" he asked. Mrs. Martin agreed, as long as they didn't resell them. So Robert and Mike started collecting these discarded comic books. They set up a library in Mike's basement and charged neighborhood kids 10 cents to come in and read as many comics as they wanted for 2 hours. They hired Mike's little sister to manage the library, paying her $1 a week. And suddenly, these two 9-year-old boys were making about $9.50 a week without even being there. The library ran itself while they were at school or playing. This was their first real business. And this was the power of having money, or in this case, comic books, work for them instead of working for money themselves. Why financial literacy matters more than ever. Let me paint you a picture of where we are today. Robert tells a story in the book about some of the richest businessmen in America back in 1923. These were titans of industry, heads of major steel companies, utility companies, banks. 25 years later, most of them had died broke, committed suicide, or gone to prison. What happened? They had money, but they didn't have financial intelligence. Today, we face an even bigger problem. Most people graduate from school with zero financial education. They've learned algebra and chemistry, history and literature, but nobody taught them the single most important subject they'll need in life: how money works. So they go out into the world and make the same mistakes. They work hard, earn money, and then spend it all. Or worse, they borrow more to buy things they don't need with money they don't have. Robert shares the story of a young basketball player who earned millions by age 24, but by 34 was working at a car wash. How does that happen? Because making money and keeping money are two completely different skills. The school system was designed during the agricultural age. It's based on getting a job and working for someone else. But we live in the information age now. The rules have changed, but education hasn't. Your house used to be a good investment. Now, Robert argues it's often your biggest liability. Let me explain why. When you buy a house, you think you're building equity, but consider what actually happens. First, you pay a massive mortgage every month. Then you pay property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. If you live in it, the house generates zero income. Meanwhile, all that money you're putting into your house could have been invested in actual assets that generate income. Plus, when you sell your house, you're taxed on the gain. And if you need to sell quickly, you might have to drop the price significantly. Compare that to someone who rents a modest place and uses their extra money to buy rental properties or invest in stocks and bonds. Over time, who do you think builds more wealth? Mind your own business. Here's a concept that most people never grasp. There's a difference between your profession and your business. Your profession is what you do to earn a paycheck. You might be a teacher, a doctor, an engineer, or a salesperson. That's your profession. But your business? Your business is your asset column. Your business is what will make you rich. Robert tells the story of Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. When Ray spoke to an MBA class at the University of Texas, he asked them, "What business am I in?" The students laughed. "You're in the hamburger business," they said. Ray smiled. "No," he said, "I'm in the real estate business." You see, McDonald's doesn't make most of its money from hamburgers. It makes money from the real estate under each franchise. Every time someone buys a McDonald's franchise, they're also paying for the land, and that land belongs to the McDonald's Corporation. Ray understood that his profession was selling hamburger franchises, but his business was acquiring real estate. Most people never make this distinction. They work all their lives at their profession, climbing the corporate ladder, earning raises and promotions. But they never build their own business, their own asset column. So when they retire, they have nothing but a pension, if they're lucky, and maybe some savings. The wealthy do it differently. They might work a job, but they're constantly building their asset column on the side. They buy rental properties, they invest in stocks, they start small businesses, and over time, the income from their assets grows until it exceeds their expenses. When that happens, they're financially free. The power of corporations. Now let me tell you something that might surprise you. The rich have a secret weapon, and it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. It's called a corporation. Most people think a corporation is a big building with a company name on it, full of employees and offices. But really, a corporation is just a legal document sitting in a lawyer's office, registered with the government. Why does this matter? Because of taxes. When you work as an employee, here's what happens. You earn money, the government takes its share in taxes, and then you get to spend what's left. But when you own a corporation, it works differently. The corporation earns money, spends what it needs, and then pays taxes only on what's left over. Can you see the difference? One way, you're taxed first. The other way, you're taxed last. This is how the rich legally minimize their taxes. Their corporation pays for their car. It's a business expense. Their vacations, their business trips or board meetings. Their health club membership, employee wellness, meals, business meetings, and so much more, all with pre-tax dollars. The middle class fights this, trying to get the government to tax the rich more. But the rich don't play by the same rules. Every time a new tax is imposed, the rich simply adjust their strategy. They hire smart accountants and lawyers. They use the tax code to their advantage. Meanwhile, who really ends up paying? The middle class. They're the ones who can't escape. They earn a salary, and the taxes are automatically deducted. They don't have the knowledge or resources to play the game differently. The 5 big obstacles. Robert identifies 5 main reasons why financially literate people still don't build wealth. Let me walk you through each one. First, fear. Everyone is afraid of losing money. But here's the difference. Losers avoid losing, so they never play the game. Winners aren't afraid to lose because they know that losing teaches them how to win. Robert learned this from his rich dad, who loved the Texas attitude toward failure. In Texas, if you're gonna go broke on something big. Don't go broke over a duplex. Texans still shout, "Remember the Alamo," turning a massive defeat into a rallying cry for victory. The point isn't to lose. The point is that failure inspires winners to become better and smarter. Failure defeats losers, but it makes winners stronger. Second, cynicism. We all have a little voice inside that says, the sky is falling. This voice tells us why we can't succeed, why it won't work, why we should play it safe. Robert calls these people chicken littles. They focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right. They say, I don't want to lose money, instead of asking, how can I make this work? The problem with cynicism is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you can't succeed, you won't even try. And if you don't try, you definitely won't succeed. Third, laziness. Now, you might think, I'm not lazy, I work hard. But that's exactly the problem. Many people stay busy as a way of avoiding what they need to do. They work long hours at the office to avoid dealing with their financial problems. They stay busy with errands and chores to avoid learning about investing. They watch TV or scroll through their phones instead of reading books about money. Rich Dad called this lazy by staying busy. The cure, a little bit of greed. Ask yourself, what's in it for me if I become financially free? What would my life look like? Fourth, bad habits. Most people have one terrible financial habit. They pay everyone else first and themselves last. The mortgage company, the credit card companies, the utilities, the grocery store, everyone gets paid before they think about saving or investing. Rich Dad taught Robert to do the opposite. Pay yourself first. Before you pay anyone else, put money into your asset column. This creates pressure. You might get calls from creditors, but that pressure forces you to think creatively about making more money. Fifth, arrogance. Arrogance is ego plus ignorance. It's when you think you know everything and refuse to learn. In the world of money, what you don't know loses you money. The solution? When you know you're ignorant about something, educate yourself. Find an expert. Read a book. Take a class. Never let your ego prevent you from learning. 10 steps to awaken your financial genius. So how do you actually start building wealth? Robert offers 10 practical steps. 1. Find a reason greater than reality. You need a powerful why. Why do you want to be rich? It can't just be to have more money. Maybe you want freedom to travel. Maybe you want to spend more time with your children. Maybe you never want to worry about bills again. Your why has to be strong enough to overcome the obstacles you'll face. Without a powerful reason, you'll give up when things get hard. 2. Choose daily. Every day, with every dollar, you're making a choice. Will you use that dollar to buy a liability or an asset? Will you spend your time watching TV or learning about investing? These daily choices compound over time. Choose wisely. 3. Choose your friends carefully. You don't have to choose friends based on their wealth, but you should learn from wealthy people. Seek out friends who talk about money, business, and investing, not in a bragging way, but in a curious, learning way. And be careful of chicken little friends who always tell you why something won't work. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not listen to poor or frightened people. 4. Master a formula, then learn a new one. There are formulas for making money, recipes, if you will. Maybe it's buying foreclosed properties. Maybe it's investing in undervalued stocks. Maybe it's starting a specific type of business. Learn one formula, master it, use it to make money, and then learn another one. The faster you learn, the more you earn. 5. Pay yourself first. This is so important that it deserves repeating. Before you pay your mortgage, your credit card bills, or anything else, pay yourself. Put money into your asset column. Yes, your creditors might call. Yes, there will be pressure, but that pressure will force you to find ways to make more money. It will activate your financial genius. 6. Pay your brokers well. Don't try to save money by cutting out professionals. A good real estate broker, stockbroker, or attorney can make you far more money than they cost. When your broker makes a lot of money, it usually means you made even more. That's a good thing. 7. Be an Indian giver. This means get your money back as quickly as possible while keeping the asset. Robert looks for investments where he can recover his initial investment quickly and then owns the asset for free. For example, he might buy a rental property that generates enough cash flow to pay back his initial investment in a few years. After that, he owns the property free and clear, and it continues generating income. 8. Use assets to buy luxuries. Don't buy luxuries with your paycheck or with credit. Instead, build assets that generate enough income to buy the luxuries. When Robert wanted a Porsche, he didn't take out a loan. He invested in assets until they generated enough extra income to pay for the car. The car became a reward for his investing skill. 9. Choose heroes. Find people who have accomplished what you want to accomplish. Study them, read about them, learn their strategies. Their success proves it's possible, and their methods give you a roadmap. 10. Teach and you shall receive. The more you teach what you're learning, the more you learn. And remember, whenever you feel like you need something, money, love, contacts, opportunities, give that thing first and it will come back to you multiplied. The real-world example. Let me close with a story that brings all of this together. It's about Robert's friend who was worried about saving for his 4 children's college education. This friend was putting $300 a month into a mutual fund. He'd saved about $12,000 and figured he needed $400,000 to get all 4 kids through college. He had 12 years to save it and was feeling stressed. Robert suggested something different. Use some of that money to buy a real estate investment. They found a house in foreclosure for $79,000. The owner owed $72,000, so Robert's friend only needed $7,000 to make the deal. He bought the house and rented it out. After paying the mortgage and all expenses, the house put about $125 in his pocket each month. He applied that extra money to pay down the mortgage faster. 3 years later, someone offered to buy the house for $156,000. Robert's friend sold it using something called a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, which allowed him to avoid paying taxes on the gain. He took that money and invested it in a mini storage facility in Texas. That facility started generating almost $1,000 a month. Then the mini storage sold for $330,000. He rolled that money into another investment that now generates over $3,000 a month. From a $7,000 investment, he created a stream of income that will easily pay for his children's education and his own retirement. That's the power of financial intelligence. The choice is yours. Here's the beautiful truth. You have a choice. Every single day, with every dollar that comes into your hands, you choose your financial future. Spend it foolishly, and you choose poverty. Spend it on liabilities you think are assets, and you join the struggling middle class. Invest it wisely in real assets, and you choose wealth. The education system won't teach your children this. The government won't teach them. Most parents can't teach them because they were never taught themselves. But now you know. You understand the difference between an asset and a liability. You understand that the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. You understand that it's not about how much you make, but how much you keep and how hard that money works for you. Robert's journey from that 9-year-old boy dusting shelves to a financially free adult wasn't magic. It was knowledge applied with courage and persistence. He learned from his rich dad, but more importantly, he took action on what he learned. The same opportunity exists for you. Start small if you need to. Read books, take classes, find mentors, make offers, build your asset column, even if you start with just a few dollars. But whatever you do, don't wait. Don't spend your whole life working hard for money, paying taxes, and buying liabilities. Don't be like Robert's poor dad who worked harder and harder but never got ahead financially. Instead, awaken your financial genius. It's there, inside you, waiting. All you need to do is give it permission to come out and play. The choice, as it has always been, is yours. Choose wisely. Choose wealth. And remember, it's not about the money itself. It's about the freedom money can buy when you know how to make it work for you. Now, while this summary has given you the core ideas, I strongly encourage you to get your own copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The complete book contains detailed examples, deeper insights, and practical strategies that will truly transform your relationship with money. Robert's full stories and explanations will give you the complete roadmap to financial freedom. You'll find the purchase link in the description below. It's an investment in yourself that will pay dividends for life. If you found this summary valuable, please hit the like button and share this video with friends and family who need to hear this message. Subscribe to our channel for more life-changing book summaries. Your financial education starts now.